Hey yo, günaydın arkadaşlar, karşıkırlar, bozkurtlarım, ne yapıyorsunuz? Alright, I'm gonna switch from Turkish back to Romanian, and I just said good morning because it's very early in the morning. I mean, it's not very early, but for my circumstances, it's 9 o'clock, and the sun is still fresh and the air is still cool, and as you can see, we are not in the garden, but we are in the mountains. We are in the fir forest, in the pine forest, and I woke up pretty early today to go for a hike, and this is a hike that I have actually wanted to do for a very long time, and I decided to take you with me and to show you the mountains, the Carpathian mountains around Romania, because I have hinted on it and nobody said, yeah, please do us. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna do it nonetheless. If you want to, you're going to watch this video. If you don't, you're going to do something else. Both of these circumstances are fine for me. So yeah, but before we do this, I just wanted to show you my equipment, what I took with me for this trip, because maybe this is gonna be interesting. So I just have some normal shoes. These are like normal shoes. They're definitely not for mountaineering. I got this. This is actually a bear defender spray, which is super important. And fucking shit, it also has this pin and it always falls down, which is super annoying. We're going to need this pin so we don't spray ourselves with this shit, because that would be very crazy, I think. So somehow, yeah, I need to put it like this. It's very hard to keep it normal. Yeah, next up, I also got some food for this trip. I have like some sausages, some dried out sausages. Let me just show you. I have a t-shirt, I have my GBL, I have some sunglasses. Oh, and of course, you know, we never go out without a weapon. Ta-dam! This is my kukri. I had to sharpen it this morning a little bit. I actually like this one as a survival knife because not only does it act like a knife, it's also very good for survival, like to use it like an axe to make a spear out of this. I also got some string and some duct tape with me, because you never know. I also got some sunscreen, because it might get very hot today, 30 degrees Celsius. We have 2.5 liters of water, some peanuts, and yeah, that's kind of it. You know, let me show you these little peanuts. Yeah, I also ate breakfast at home, so I should be good. We can actually just go hiking already, so let's talk. Alright guys, I found a very nice bed of moss. This is so beautiful. Just, touching the grass is so nice. It's really beautiful, nice and wet. I wish I could just stay longer and just lay down, but we have a hike to do, and I was just thinking about the fact that survival games actually teach you really good things about real life. As I mentioned about the bear, maybe you should just look for on Google or YouTube, bear tourist Romania, and then you will see that there was like an Italian guy who tried to photograph a bear super up close and got killed. And that's what I mean. And this kind of shit happens a lot. And also the hiking party, the guys that I mentioned earlier, I passed them already, but the guy stopped at that pond where we were chilling. Sorry my breathing, I'm gonna speak a little slower because I'm also hiking and walking. These are my funny shoes, but I trust them because the weather is super good. Of course, if it was winter, I would just take normal boots, but this works really well. Also, I've been walking in these shoes around my garden for so long that I kind of know them and I understand them. I feel very flexible in them. So yeah, also the guy stopped at the pond and he took water from there, like drinking water, and he was drinking it, which is okay, but I've played enough the long dark to know where that could be going. So honestly, I realized that video games and survival games have taught me so many things on how to approach life, and I don't see it as such a negative thing to have been stuck under the rock in my house playing video games, and now just going out in real life and discovering stuff and applying the principles that I have learned. And I've played like a lot of Valheim, I've played The Long Dark, I've played other games such as Vintage Story. Also, I think I look like a crazy guy carrying my kukri like this, but how else am I gonna keep it? I shouldn't care about what others people think of me, and I should just enjoy my trip. Yep. I'm also getting a little bit hungry, but I do have enough food with me for around 1,800 to 2,000 calories. Lots of fat, lots of cheese, lots of meat. So we're gonna be good. And I don't think I'm gonna get lost because we just have to go, once we reach the first peak, we just have to go southwestwards and we just have to follow the trail. And there's enough internet coverage in the mountains that will be able to access the maps easily. So I'm not too worried. So beautiful. A very beautiful trail. And if you hike in unison with your breath, you're going to realize it's very meditative, and that the worries you have are so irrelevant, and that what actually really matters is how in tune you are with yourself in the activity that you're doing, and how self-aware and environmentally aware you are in the present moment. And it's so awesome. It really is. I've been hiking for nearly 30 minutes, 20-30 minutes, and very soon we're gonna be much higher in terms of altitude, maybe 1,600 meters, and we're gonna come out of the forest into another biome, into the mountain biome. So this is the Black Forest. It's not the Black Forest, the one in Germany, but it's a pine forest. And now we're gonna come to the next biome. Let's do this climb together. And let's also admire the beauty together. There might be dogs around here, but I'm pretty chill. And usually when I see dogs, I don't run away from them because that activates their predatory instinct. What the hell? That's the first time I see that shit there. What the fuck? Maybe there is a water there. And I learned this the hard way because once I was in the mountains, and funnily enough, I was with my dad. And there were like some shepherd's dogs that were chasing me, and I was so afraid that I ran away from them, and I was just running like this, pum 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 pum, and then I ended up at the edge of a fucking cliff, and it was like downwards 100 meters, and I fucking realized that fear can make you die in the worst kind of ways. And I was so close to the edge of death. Whew. And since then, I realized I'd much rather wrestle those dogs than to run away from them again. Because having a few near-death experiences, guys, is very important to wake up to the realities of life. And this is one of a few near-death experiences I've had. And what it taught me is that you much rather die because of fear or because of bad actions, bad choices, bad understanding of life, bad self-image. So not understanding, not knowing thyself, as Sun Tzu put it in The Art of War, is you really need to understand yourself, and you really need to understand the psychology, the mechanism of your enemies. And when I talk about enemies, I mean dogs, I mean bears, I mean other people, I mean the mountains, the clouds. And you remember that in part 1 we talked about Tengriism and how it splits into 2 dimensions, like the sky god and the god of nature. There it is. Tengri is everywhere. And I'm not saying this as a shamanistic, psychotic, spiritual guru, but just as a way to look at life. So beautiful. We have to climb this way. And we will go to Shawabatruna. We still have 4 hours, 3.5 hours to go. So let's move. And we're gonna take a break soon because I want to tell you some more things. Ta-dam! And as I had anticipated, we have a 4-legged friend over here, but he is chilling. So I think he's gonna be okay. You look tired. What did you do last night, dog? Honestly, I'd also like to chill somewhere here. Where are you? You can follow me, no problem. If you chill, like super chill and not breathing as crazily as I am, dogs will feel it. And honestly, sometimes I've really felt like I'm a dog. So The throating is because we have arrived at the pastures and it's AOE 4 Mongols related. There is another dog. That there is the Cindrel Peak, that's how it's called. I scaled it with a mate this winter, and the coming winter I wanna start learning how to ski. Skiing is something that is very popular here, and I don't know how to do it. And in this case, it's something that has to be done. We're also climbing and climbing. We're not going to climb over the Cindrel Peak. Let me just zoom in. Yeah. We're going under it because we still have a lot to go. Pastures, but no sheep. We might come across sheep later. Who knows? And right now we are in the Cindrel Mountains. These are not as high as those mountains there. And those are the Făgăraș Mountains. And those are actually the biggest mountains in Romania. Not the biggest in Balkan, but in Romania. That there is Transylvania. Maybe you can see it. It's quite misty down there, but the sky is super awesome. Tengri is very generous today. Yeah, that's the Făgăraș mountain. Those are the Făgăraș mountains. The highest peak is at 2,545 or something. 2,550, let's say. I actually climbed that one with my father at one point, which is very interesting. Yeah, and also we're looking for a place to chill down and talk about some things. I took a rest there with a dog. I gave him a tiny bit of cheese, a tiny little bit of sausage, and we had a little chat. But we still have to move on because we have to conquer the Cindrel Peak at 2,300. There's still a lot to go, but I'm confident. I'm pretty sure I'm going to conquer it without any problems. Another beautiful shot here. And that's the western part of Transylvania. In that direction you have the Apuseni Mountains. So currently we're in the Cindrel Mountains, and to the west you have Apuseni Mountains. And that there, you won't be able to see it, but oh yeah, you might. But that's the city where I live in, and I probably live somewhere there. There's my house. Let's say hello to Kara. And also, guys, what I wanted to tell you is, growing up in Romania, for me, has been like the biggest privilege I have ever had, because life here really teaches you how to be a survivalist, because you are very close to these animals, to the sheep, you're very close to the forest, you're very close to nature. And people who live like in bigger cities, they don't have this privilege. So maybe I have told you, maybe I haven't, but I've lived in Bucharest for around 2 years, and I've seen the kids and the youth there. They're very, I don't know, just let's call them mall goers, like kids who like to go to the mall and just have swag. But besides swag, they don't have the let's say S from survival, W from warlike, A from adventurous, and G from gangster. That's what swag means, and that's not the kind of swag that city people have. But I grew up in, I told you about my hometown. I grew up there, and me and my friends, we would always like just hang out. We would hang out on the mountains, and not on the mountains, on the hills. Sorry, I'm exaggerating. But we were just hanging out on the hills. We were like making fires. We were like exploring the forest, and we were trying to kind of find our ways in the forest and do bushcraft and stuff like that. And I'm actually just rediscovering this kind of stuff, and it's so awesome to be in tune with nature like this. because the cool thing about Romania, and we're gonna touch upon the Dacians as well, because the Dacians have been like the tribes, like the peoples that lived here in antiquity before the Romans came, and they were exactly like this, you know, they were very in tune with the mountains, and they understood the mountains, and they were very aware of them and their importance. And I think that's the same thing with Mongols as well. Just the difference between Mongols and European peoples is that Mongols had to cross like big distances, and that's why they had like these networks, the YAM networks, the wall systems, like the postal systems. And we're not talking only about Mongols, but also about, let's say, about the Huns, about Pechenegs, about these nomadic people, because they do have lots in common, including Tengriism. And I believe their Tengriist philosophy was very practical to actually help them. So yeah, to help them understand and navigate the environment. Let's continue. There was this kid who actually asked me if I want some blueberries, but I can fucking pick them myself. And pardon me if I insulted the guy with the car. If he really has business here, then that's okay. But damn, sometimes people just drive their car up the mountain just to take in the view without putting the effort. And that's super stupid and crazy, honestly. But yeah, let's take some blueberries. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I really love this. And yeah, and to keep on talking about Dacians. Well, I was actually thinking and philosophizing about something, and it includes this shadow work that I have been talking about. And many people here in Romania are not so educated. Like, they're not educated, and they kind of look for symbolism in very restrained places. Let me explain. Many people who don't know their history, they fall into mental traps, psychological traps, and we're talking about traps like being all in for the Dacians. You know what I mean? They really identify themselves with this, I'm Dacian, pure-blooded Dacian, and we've been here, we've been the tribes people here, we've been kings and shit. Maybe you know this kind of meme. We've been here first, blah blah blah, without actually realizing, okay, yeah, Dacians, they were pretty dope. They were pretty cool, and they were like burebista, deceba, very strong and brave and fierce warriors. And there were 2 wars between the Dacians and the Romans, and Trajan even erected a column in thingy here. Check this. Okay. Yeah. After having lived under a rock. Like, okay, so let me just translate for you. Yeah, these guys are just gathering blueberries, and as you can see, there are like only blueberries here. Lots of blueberries. And he said that, oh yeah, it's so much easier if you take the blueberries with a comb. And I was like, yeah, man, that really makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, taking these blueberries with a comb, I think, is a pretty fucking good idea. And he said with a comb, he needs like 1 hour to fill up a bucket of blueberries. Pretty funny. And yeah, What was I about to say? Yeah, next time I'm gonna bring a comb, because I showed you my gear, I showed you my backpack, and one thing that's missing that I'm gonna take with me is gonna be a comb. And he said, yeah, I'm gonna take this home, I'm not selling it, which is pretty cool. Don't sell this kind of stuff, just take it, collect it. And he said, yeah, he's gonna make affinato with the rest of it, which is like a liquor from blueberries. And I said, don't do that, fuck that, just eat eat it. And like I told you guys, I've been a pretty heavy drinker in the past, until 2 years ago. Actually, this month is gonna be my second anniversary year since I stopped drinking. And I truly believe that I never want to drink again. I truly believe that drinking, even in small amounts, is shit for the brain, is shit for the body. It makes you stupid, it makes you lazy, it burns holes into your brain, and that's why I'm eating this fruit, and I'm gonna enjoy every inch of it. So yeah, as we can see, the mountain gives. But you also need to know how much you can take and how much you should take, and not be greedy with a mountain, because then I assume that if you are too greedy, the mountain can punish you, and the punishment of the mountain is hardcore. So beware of Father Tengri, for he can punish you hard. Okay, joke. Let's go back to the Dacians. I was talking about Trajan's column, which he erected in Rome in honor of the Dacian Wars. And also a very interesting and not so well-known fact is that in Bucharest there is a replica of this column at 1:1 scale. It's actually in separate pieces, like it's fragments of the column, and I don't know when it was built or carved out, this replica, but it was actually intended to be erected in Bucharest, and it looks very similar to the one in Rome. Unfortunately, it is in the Museum of History, so it's kind of underground. It's not so well known, but I saw it when I lived in Bucharest and I found it to be super fucking interesting. And why I believe that the people who identify too much only with the Dacians are like patriots. I believe they are like nationalists in some way, or sovereignists, or this new trend of saying, oh yeah, we were Dacians, we were here before, blah blah, this kind of stupid argument. And maybe about Romanians and Hungarians, that they always fight about who was here first and shit, which is such a stupid fucking argument. And in terms of Dacians, I also believe, and this is very strictly correlated to shadow work, that we must identify even with the Dacians and the Romans. We must always identify even with the people that were here before, if you want to put it like this, but also with the people that came here after. And even if they were violent, and even if they were not so to your liking, even if you don't like it, you should not be emotional or biased about history, because that's where you're going to fall into fallacies, into mental traps that can harm your sense of identity. And as you might have known from the first steppe philosophy video, I actually started out on the idea of identity disturbances, and this one is actually a pretty big identity disturbance. So when you look at Romanians, in my opinion, you have to know that if you were to trace the DNA, so to speak, maybe you would have like 30% Dacian, 30% Roman, which gives us 60%, and then we have maybe 5% Huns, then we have like 5% Goths, then we have like 5% Hungarians, Then we have like 5% Turks. Then we have like 5% Greeks. And it kind of adds up to it. And if you want to identify yourself completely, you have to identify yourself with all of these elements that contribute to the whole, to the entire image. Because if you identify yourself with just a fragment, you're gonna be fragmented. And this is my take on Romans and Dacians. And I believe that no matter how you want to put it, you have to look at the Dacians if you want to resonate with your inner shadow, with your barbarian self, with your child eater, with your woodman and freeman. And you also have to identify yourself with a Roman, the civilization builder, the empire builder, the constructor, the architect, the stonemason. Although Dacians have also been pretty good stonemasons, and this is something that I really love about antiquity and Bronze Age is stonemasonry, which was even more sophisticated than anything we had in the Middle Ages. Let's take in the view. And I think lots of blah 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 people shouting, but that's okay. Actually, it's good to shout because you keep the bears away if you do this. Yeah. Bună ziua! I think that's the direction we have to go to. Bună ziua! Vreau să iau spre Cindrel, pe acolo, așa-i? Bine. Ce faci, Cuțu? Numai pe ăsta l-aveți, micuțul ăsta? Da? Uite ce drăguții! Doamne, ce drăguți ești! Da, Cuțu, Cuțu. Asta e cel mai cu minte.
Asta e gentuț.
Gentuț?
Gentuț, uite.
Ce faci, mă? Vrei să te mângâi? Hai că te mângâi. Hai că te mângâi, mă, că ești micuț, mă. Nu că ești micuț, mă. Cum să mă bravo, bravo, Cuțu, bun, Cuțu, 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 Cuțu. Bravo. Bine, zi bună, spor la treabă. Sheep. If I had a scout right now, it would be like ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding. It's like we're playing those maps where you have lots of sheep, or where you're like late game imperial Mongols and you have so many pastures and sheep under your town center that you don't even fucking know what to do with them. God, I fucking love this, guys. And I think this environment is very similar to the Altai mountains in Mongolia, because we're here at maybe 2,000 meters altitude, and here we have some köpekler, also in Mongolian nohoi, nohoi, nohoi. I'm afraid of nohoi. Bună ziua! Doamne ajută! Ce câini frumoși aveți! Îi laud ca să nu mă latre, știți? Bine. Frumoșilor. Nu m-aș pune veci cu voi. Nohoi. Nochoi. By the way, oops. Nochoi. I know a little bit of Mongolian actually, maybe 40 words, out of which this word nochoi, because many years ago I had the same thing that I was overly identifying myself with this Mongolian culture, and then I wanted to learn the language. And let me tell you about a dream that I have had. Yeah, very interesting. I'm very free-flowing in what I talk about, but I love it, and I hope you do love it too. I also think that maybe some of you guys can totally resonate with what I'm telling you and what I speak about, because I know that there are some guys out there who might also have this little identity disturbance where you overly identify yourself with something. And I'm gonna go into this because I like the psychology behind it. So yeah, nonetheless, I had a dream many years ago where I was going through a very oriental city, but it wasn't oriental at all. It wasn't like the Arabian cities with Arabian landscapes, but more like a city of the 1900s, but with bazaars and stuff. And it looked like city of the steppe, of the Gobi Desert. And I was just walking through it. It was very sandy, and somehow, you know, the dream kind of whispered to me that you are in Mongolia. And the city that I kind of identified to be very similar with what I've dreamed of is a city in Mongolia called Dalansatgad, which makes totally no fucking sense. It's like in the southeastern part of Mongolia. And also I take back what I said about people coming with cars here, probably just collectors. Salutare. I don't know what they're looking for. They said, oh, you don't find it, you don't find it. So yeah, and that dream kind of made me open the doors to this Mongolian culture, and that's when I actually first started to look into Mongolia, into Mongolian history, into the geography of Mongolia. And that's where when I actually started planning a trip to Mongolia with one of my friends, and we said, okay, let's learn Mongolian together. And through the Mongolian language, I have actually started to learn the Cyrillic alphabet. So that's how I got to learn the Cyrillic alphabet, because I learned Mongolian. And then I was also interested in the old Mongolian script, but I didn't get that far to actually study it, because there's so many more things to do. And yeah. And part of the reason why I identified with this, I haven't taken off my shirt yet. Let's just change the view a little bit. Very beautiful. I just like hiking and I just like talking. That's why I took you with me, because this is Mongols related. And since I'm hiking alone, it's so good to have someone to speak to. And also, there is not much Romania content out there on YouTube. And there is Romania content on YouTube, but unfortunately a lot of Romania content is in Romanian. And what I want to do with these videos is to kind of build some bridges between other European countries and Romania by actually talking in English about Romania and about some stuff that is related to Romania. Also, you know me, I like history, I like philosophy, I like literature, I like languages, I like culture, I like psychology and many things. So I'm not speaking out of my arse, so to speak. I'm speaking out of the stuff that I have studied for myself to understand, and I'm actually striving to be a teacher, and I am a teacher already, but I'm striving for more. And also I have taught English. I used to be an English teacher. My English isn't that good anymore, but I still can come up with a story. Yeah, I can still come up with stories and stories that I want to share. Nonetheless, I was talking about Mongols. Yeah, I was like overly identifying with that, and I think many of you guys do that too. Admit it, yeah? You also like the steppe culture, you also like the wilderness, you also want to get out of your friggin' city and explore the world a little more. Just admit it, guys. You have to admit it, because part of what's calling you towards being in tune with this Mongol element is your desire to get out and explore nature. And I wanna say that this is the case for me, and I want to instill this sense of adventure into you guys. We have no more space for gaming. There is no more room for gaming until the DLC comes out. Maybe just a few games with you guys if you want. Just hit me up on Discord, you know me, and come join me, join the tribe, and let's go raiding if you want. But also I identified myself with this Mongol element, and recently I understood it. I understood it because I overlapped this with psychology and identification. And if we look at the civilization builders from history, like the Romans, the Chinese, yeah, the Qing dynasty and the other dynasties, they were the most afraid of the nomadic cultures. And we don't have to look only at Mongols. Let's just go back into history prior to the Mongols, who were indeed very gruesome and very dangerous and very scary. But if we look, for example, at the Huns who have come to Europe in the year 390 and have settled onto this Pannonian region, plains, the Pannonian plains, like what used to be the greater kingdom of Hungary, but also like in the western parts of Europe when they fought against the Western Roman Empire. Well, the Huns, they were very scary. And they were like tattooed, and they had like, I don't know if they had tattoos, but they had like piercings, and they were like very scary, you know, like these metalheads from nowadays. Now, well, multiply that to scariness level 100, and then you have Huns. And they also probably ate horses, like raw horses, and if they were thirsty, they would probably just cut the neck of their horses and drink the blood. And maybe, guys, we should also play Total War Attila and learn a little bit more about this. But I think I also got like it. I also got it, you know. I also got it. I understood it, that shadow work implied me looking into these Hunnic tribes to understand like the darkest parts of the psyche. And Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, would also agree that, you know, we kind of repress the darkest elements of humanity. And I want to overtake those guys, and we should also talk about the Huns a little more, because this can be very interesting. But yeah, and this is what I think attracted me. This is what I think I found intriguing about Mongols and Huns and Scythians and Pechenegs and Tengriism, is because I wanted to look into my own shadow but I found it to be so gruesome. And like I said, I haven't done crazy shit. I mean, I've done some shit in the past, and I've been very close to doing like irreversible shit, which I'm going to tell you more at another time. But I don't want to slip into darkness, into narcissism, into sociopathy. And this is what my philosophy is all about, is that a personality disorder such as sociopathy or narcissism can be prevented if you don't ignore your shadow, if you manage to overlap it with the you which you present to be, with the you that you show to the world. And that's very important. To become yourself, you have to integrate this shadow. You have to integrate the horse eater. Let's call it a horse eater. But you have to integrate your inner Mongol, guys. You have to integrate your inner Attila, your inner Hun, your inner warrior. And that was, I think, Steppe Philosophy Part 3. Well, this video is more about, that paternal element, which I'm going to cover a little bit later, maybe as we come back. And I noticed that this is going to be a much longer video because the hike is long and I want to take you guys with me. So, yeah, let's climb this. Let's have a snack. Let's look at the environment again. There are the sheep there. We've come a long way. Carpathian mountains, baby. Let's go.